Hello, and welcome to SchedulesPlus tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at how easy it is to create a repeating event. First, when you're working with an event, you're going to want to look for the specific schedule you'd like to place that event in. I'm going to create an event called Open Fitness Center. So it makes sense to me that I'm going to put that under the Fitness, Health, and Wellness schedule. So I'm going to click on that. When I open that schedule, I see all of the other events that are already active for the next 30 days in that schedule. And I can click on the Add New Event tab. When I click on that tab, it opens a brand new window for me where I can enter my information. So I'm going to type in the name, Open Fitness Center. And it already knows I'm in the Fitness, Health, and Wellness schedule. And I want to set this up every day starting tomorrow from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. So it's really easy to pick the times. You can always, too, if you don't want to pick the time from the drop-down menu, you can actually update it and just type in directly. The status here reflects whether this is an active, canceled, closed, or tentative. When you're creating a new event, it's always going to be active. But if you were modifying an event in the future and you needed to cancel it, you can always come in and change the event and update the status to canceled. You have two different classes, a public and a private event. Open Fitness Center is a public event, meaning I want it to be visible on my calendar. If you were creating a private event, perhaps a staff meeting, and you didn't want it visible on your calendar, your external calendar, or at the check-in station, then you would pick a class of private. In this case here, Open Fitness Center should be public. I'm going to have that taking place in the fitness studio. And then we have categories here, and this is going to be a fitness, health, and wellness category. You can choose more than one category for your event category. Event categories are defined by you for your account, and they're used later to actually pull out reporting statistics about attendance. So the fact that I identify this as a fitness related category, later when I run reports, I would be able to say, give me all of the attendance numbers for anything that had a fitness category, and attendance for Open Fitness Center would show in the totals that I requested. There's some additional options for showing in calendars and highlighting. These are lesser used options. And then you can define the repeating aspects of this. So I want this to repeat every week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I want this to go until the end of April. The last thing when you're creating a repeating event is selecting the type. And there are two different types of repeating events, and the best way to really think about it is a type 1 repeating event is very much like this one, an Open Fitness Center, where the attendees vary. They're going to be different every day, and if it happened to have a fee, then you would be paying the fee. The individual would pay the fee every time. A type 2 repeating event is one where it's a full series. For example, a computer class where it's offered 4 times over a month, and the person signs up one time, they pay a one-time fee, and their name gets added to every single one. So there's two different kinds of repeating events. This one's going to be a type 1. And if you ever forget the distinction between those two types, we have this question mark here that basically pops up a window and explains the very same thing. So now I have filled in all of the things here on this general page for creating an event, and to be perfectly frank, the only 4 fields that are required whenever you're creating an event are the first 4. One of them's already filled in for you. The other is the name, the date, and the time, and then the status. And typically when you're creating an event, it's always going to be active public. So literally you could create an event with just entering 2 fields, your Open Fitness Center and your date and time. But if you do have more information you want to add, you can certainly click on the other tabs here on the left. Description allows you to input a description. And places where descriptions are going to be valuable is if you're making visible your calendar on the external web, so you are linking the calendar into your web page, so people could click on an event and see your description. The internal notes, that's just all about internal notes for your internal use only. The registration tab helps you define the registration aspects. So if this activity required pre-registration, you could certainly define that to be so. It's not the case in an Open Fitness Center. You don't have to to define seat capacity in something that does not require pre-registration. This does not have appointments, but if you did have an event that had appointments, you could actually say these appointments occur every 30 minutes and I take 2 people in each time slot. You can also define when you're setting up registration for things that people can only register between certain dates. So registration starts on, for example, March 1st and it will end on March 30th. These are lesser used options, but certainly very valuable in certain cases. The fees area is where you would identify the differentiation in fees if this event had a fee. So you can say members pay $3 and non-members and guests pay $5. Or you can say this is a members only event. Or you can say that this is something that requires or may have a suggested donation. So this can be very valuable to you in terms of identifying your fee structure for particular events. And then you can also identify the payment category. Payment categories, again, categories are used later in reporting. In this case here, for the Open Fitness Center, it doesn't require a fee, so I'm not going to put any information in there. The check-in is all about the unique definitions as it relates to your check-in station. So if you are using a check-in station, which is an independent computer at your entrance where people can check in themselves for the day, you can actually say yes or no, I want this to appear in the check-in station. In our case, we do. If there was a fee, you can actually allow people to check in without paying, and then it would just show that they owe money. And then there's also another option, which is really a valuable option for things where you're trying to make sure that on the day of the event, things are filled. So you may have an event that requires pre-registration, but on the day of the event, there may be seats available. So you'd like to fill those seats. So on the day of the event, if someone comes to check in and they're not already pre-registered, they're given the option to join the class if a seat is available. The volunteering section is again all about the volunteering definition. If someone logs volunteer time for this, what category does it go against? If someone's going to sign up to help to be a volunteer, how does that get set up? So those are some of the aspects of how you're setting up an event. But again, in creating the event, really when you're coming in here for the first time to create one, the only 2 required fields are going to be the name and the date and the time. And if it's a repeating event, of course, your repeating options. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and what it's going to do now is it's going to create all of the instances out through April 30th, and it's going to reserve the fitness room across all of those. So I'm going to go ahead and save. So now it created all those instances. It gave me a couple of messages. It said, please make sure you review your room reservations because it's really key that you make sure that you did receive a room resource in each one of those. And in this case, I didn't, so I must have had a conflict. So I'll definitely need to go back and update the room reservations here for each one of those. And then just make sure you check to make sure that you have the proper type setting. And we do. It does say type 1 attendees vary. So I'm now seeing all of the instances here of this that go all the way down through April 30th. And if I just take a look at the event itself, now we see the definition of that event as we had created it. So that's a really quick view on how to create a repeating event. Thank you for joining SchedulesPlus tutorials.